After a motorcycle crash, everything's a blur. In those first few hours, one wrong move can take your injury claim before it even starts. You're dealing with pain, damage, insurance calls, and no one's telling you what not to do when everything's moving fast. I'm Shane McGuire. I'm a personal injury attorney here in Texas, and I've handled enough motorcycle cases over the years to know that the biggest mistakes happen early, and they're hard to undo. In this video, I'm going to show you the 5 things you absolutely need to avoid right after a crash based on what I've seen go wrong too many times. So you protect your case from day one and don't lose the compensation you're owed just because no one warned you what to watch out for. All right, number 1, don't leave the scene, even if you're scared or shaken. I can't tell you how many times I've signed up a motorcycle wreck and I ask the client what happened and he describes the wreck to me. He's thrown from the bike and he's, I'm scared. I left. And I know it's shocking. Like, you're sitting at home and you're watching this. You're like, why would somebody leave? Well, the reality is, in that moment, you're scared. You're shaken up. You don't know what's going on. And you're like, well, maybe we don't need to call the police. Maybe we don't need, I got adrenaline going. I don't need to call an ambulance. And then they just go. Like, okay, well, why is that a problem? Well, it turns out that, like, at the scene of an accident, the at-fault driver is probably really apologetic, may even be candid, and may say, yeah, it's my fault. Police officer's there with a badge on, and the lights going, and the siren, and he's working the wreck. The at-fault driver may write that in there, admit to fault, and give the police officer the insurance information. And the officer's documenting that you're hurt, that you were thrown 20 feet from the bike or whatever. But, we'll make a claim, and then that driver's insurance company calls him. What's he going to say? I don't think. He starts crawfishing. In East Texas, we call it crawfishing. That means back it up, okay? So at the scene, he told you that he was at fault, but his insurance company calls him, and all of a sudden, his motivations change. Now he's not trying to apologize to someone he just injured. He's trying to protect his premium dollars from going up. And so he tells Progressive or Allstate or whoever's insurance company is, I don't know if it was totally my fault. I think it might have been partially this other guy's fault. That's probably why he didn't wait for the police to show up. And all of a sudden, just because you were maybe nice and didn't want this other guy to get a ticket necessarily, or because you didn't want to needlessly involve the police because they're investigating murders or whatever, and you don't want to take them away from what they're doing, all of a sudden, because you were trying to be a nice person, some insurance company out there is saying you're not hurt and you're not at fault. So 1, don't leave the scene even if you're scared or shaken. 2, don't say I'm sorry or admit fault even if you think you messed up. Now, why is that? Well, the reality is you don't know in the moment everything the other driver was doing. And right after a wreck, especially a motorcycle wreck, you may not be thinking with the greatest of clarity. Let's be honest. You fly off a motorcycle, that helmet's wearing you for protection, okay? In that moment, that is not when you are your most lucid. It is not when you're most calm. It is not when you're thinking the most clearly. So after a motorcycle wreck, don't go around saying, I'm sorry. And why do people say they're sorry? They say they're sorry because they're nice. We're all from Texas, and we're in a moment where, I've heard it said before that we live in a thank you society, where you go to the store and even though you're handing the person money behind the cash register, you say thank you and they say thank you. And we're also kind of an I'm sorry society, where you're in an accident and nobody intentionally did something, but you're in an accident and it's the other person's fault. You kind of each say you're sorry because you're both sorry you're in this situation. Well, I don't know if you've ever been in one of those relationships where everything you say is used against you later by that other person. We've all been in that relationship. Well, let me tell you something. When insurance companies are involved, they are that bad ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend who never let you forget something you misstated. And so you say to the person who hit you, hey, I'm sorry, and he said, I'm sorry too. 6 months later, some insurance company is reminding you of that. Well, you apologized at the scene. Sir, you wouldn't have apologized, would you, if it wasn't your fault? Don't create a hurdle that we then have to overcome later. 3, don't refuse medical attention. Always get checked out. This is especially true after a motorcycle wreck. You're going 50 miles an hour. You're thrown from your bike. Thank God you have a helmet. Thankfully, you may have jeans or chaps or whatever. It's not as bad as it could be. But my goodness, You need to get checked out. You don't even know the level of damage that you have inside your body in the moment after a wreck. This is especially true. I'm just going to say it. It's especially true for men. They get a little John Wayne syndrome. And they say, well, I don't need to go to the doctor. Try to tough it out. Okay. They've got road rash. They're aching. They're bloody. And they want to act like, it's the Super Bowl and they're trying to go back in for a new play after an injury. You don't have to do that. Okay. Take care of yourself. You might have internal bleeding. You might have a broken bone that need an x-ray on, needs to get set. And you don't know in that moment because your adrenaline is pumping and you think you can get through. And what always happens is 2 days later, it's like the worst day of your life. You're in so much pain. And what does that insurance company say? If this guy was really hurt, he'd have gone to the doctor right after the wreck. You go to the doctor right after the wreck, an ambulance takes you, or you get a ride to the ER, even if your wife or husband or family member or friend takes you to the ER. Okay, even if you don't want to go by ambulance, you need to go. And the reason you go is to document that you're in pain, because you're going to have been in pain if you were just in a motorcycle wreck, and prevent that insurance company from arguing later. If he was hurting, he would have been treated. 4, don't talk to the other driver's insurance company, at least not yet. You exchange information with somebody after a crash. What happens is, this is very important. Somebody who causes a wreck, what are they doing? What's the first call they make when they get home? Call their insurance company. Get online, get on the app or whatever, and they say, I was in a wreck. And some insurance adjuster calls them. What happened? The guy says, well, I was in a wreck. Okay. Well, tell us what happened. Okay, I pulled out in front or da-da-da. But here's what's going to happen. Here's what this guy's going to say, because it's a motorcycle wreck. He was flying. Every time. Every time I've represented somebody in a motorcycle wreck, the other driver has said that motorcycle was flying. Now, in all candor, sometimes that motorcycle was flying, all right? But it's certainly not always the case. The safest drivers I know are actually motorcycle drivers, because they're so cognizant of other drivers, other car drivers out on the highway. They're making sure they're in their proper lane within the lane, the left, middle, right. They're making sure that other four-wheelers can see them. But when a driver pulls out in front of a motorcycle, they will always blame the motorcyclist first. And this, if you're a biker, there is a bias against bikers in the broader driving community. So as soon as he talks to his insurance company, that guy's going to say that guy's flying. So then insurance adjuster calls you. And that insurance adjuster, they're not experts on much, okay? But they are experts on how to ask questions in a way that favors the insurance company. And you are not trained, and you are not an expert in how to answer those particular questions that these corporations have spent years crafting. You're not trained on how to answer those in a way that benefits you. Those questions are drafted and they are being asked to minimize what they pay to a claimant. When they set up these claims, they set it up and they call it date of loss. You, the injured person, you're just cutting into their profit margins. So they just view you as a loss, as a risk. And so they're trying to minimize that risk in the questions that they ask. You're not trained on how to answer them. I've had clients who call the insurance company, they do the recorded statement, and they record it so they can use it against you later. All right? So they give this recorded statement, and the insurance adjuster says, Mr. So-and-so, how are you feeling? And the guy says, I'm okay. It's not as bad as it could be. I'm doing okay, I guess. Kind of the standard things you say if somebody from church asked you how you were feeling after a wreck. You minimize it. Why? Because bikers especially are tough guys, and they don't want to act like they're more hurt than what they are. And so they err on the other side and try to minimize how bad they're hurting. And then that gets used against them later by some enterprising insurance lawyer who's throwing that transcript in front of them and saying, why'd you tell this insurance adjuster you weren't hurting if you in fact were hurting? Weren't you telling him the truth? You need to know how, that guy's not your buddy. You need to know how to answer those questions. 5, don't post about your accident on social media, even if you want support. Family, friends, your online community or whatever. Don't post about it. There's no reason to post about it. All that post can do is one of a couple things. They'll use it against you later to say you were just trying to get sympathy from people. They'll use it against you. If you start don't start a GoFundMe. The worst thing you can do is start a GoFundMe. Don't do it. If you need money, just privately talk to family and friends. You're not going to get some $1 million GoFundMe anyway. Don't do it. resist the urge to do that, okay? Because that insurance company is going to use it against you and say, you've been all over the internet trying to get all this money online from strangers, and now you're coming to us trying to sue our insurer to get all this money. It's just, there's no there there. You're not going to get $100,000 from some GoFundMe because your knee, back, shoulder is hurt. Even if you're near catastrophically hurt, you're not going to get $1 million on a GoFundMe from a posting you make on the internet. It's just not going to happen. Let me do my job. Let a trained personal injury lawyer do his job to make the claim on your behalf to the insurance company. That's what insurance companies are there for. They're there to take premium dollars and then to pay out claims when there's a wreck. And if you start a GoFundMe, oh man, it is just going to be used against you so hard. And I have to tell you something. Juries are suspicious of a person who asks strangers for money on the internet because everybody's been warned not to give to those things. So just don't do things that are going to be used against you like a GoFundMe. Okay, to recap, these are the 5 things you must not do after a motorcycle wreck in Texas. 1, don't leave the scene. 2, don't admit fault or even say, I'm sorry. 3, don't refuse medical treatment after the wreck. 4, don't talk to the other driver's insurance company. And 5, don't post anything on social media. These mistakes are all too common, but you don't have to make any of them. They're unforced errors. By knowing what not to do, you're already ahead of the game and protecting your right to fair compensation. Okay, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for that. If this was helpful, hit like so more riders like you can see it, and subscribe for more simple Texas-specific accident tips that protect your health in your case.